Alright, so I want to talk to you about something important. I want to talk to you as I'm here just enjoying how everything looks at a racetrack. I want you to know that the devil wants everything that we have, everything, like from the smallest thing that you own, like a fingernail, or like a twig in your backyard, to like the biggest thing that you own, which could be your house, or your condo in the Bahamas, or not necessarily the Bahamas. Maybe it's in, I don't know, maybe somewhere in France, but you know what I mean. And especially the devil also wants your children. He wants your patrimony. He wants your heritage. That's one of the most important things for God is heritage. And that's one of the things that the devil attacks the most, or has attacked the most throughout his lifetime. And I can say that, throughout his lifetime, because his time is short. And the span of time that he has lived is obviously a lot longer than ours, in terms of individually how long a human can live in contrast to how long an angel can live. Satan, we don't know how old he is, we don't know how old Satan is, but human record of the Hebrews spans back to 5,785 years. So an evolutionary or anthropology, let's just put it that way. And anthropology has found evidence of human skulls, or the first Homo sapiens, from dating back to 11,000 years. So we can say that humanity itself may be at the very least 11,000 years or more old. Really depends how old, how much longer, if God has hidden some bones for people to find, we can't really say. It's a theory, okay? So 11,000 years at the very least is how long humanity has been around for. But the devil has been around for longer than that, obviously. So maybe we could say that the devil is millions of years old. We don't even know that, And being able to defeat something like that takes, first of all, a lot of faith. Second, a lot of courage, which are the two biggest qualities that David had. But the greatest one was how much he loved the Lord. And because he loved the Lord above all things, he was able to defeat Satan out in the battlefield many, many times. When I say Satan, obviously, I mean Goliath and the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and all the ites that God allowed him to defeat throughout his lifetime as a soldier in the army of God. Not just, as a soldier for King Saul, but also as a king, as a commander of the Israelite army. Or as the leader of the Israelite army, yeah. So when I say that our task is a difficult one, I don't lie to you. Jesus didn't lie to you either. When you go to church, you hear the pastor talking about how we have to have faith, and we have to adopt an attitude of I can, and and the devil has no power. And unfortunately, there is a lie there that we have to learn to accept so that we can defeat the devil. Okay? And the lie is that the devil has no power. The devil has power. What we cannot accept is that he has power over us. Okay? So you can accept that he has power, because the reason that he exists is that God gave him life. He exists. Well, he is called the was not, is not. Now, I do not know the entirety of that concept, But I imagine that the reason that he's called Satan is that he lost his name in heaven. He is called Lucifer in the Bible, but maybe his heavenly name, he lost it because he no longer is a child of God at all. He's still an angel, but he's a fallen angel. Or maybe God calls him something else. We know that the Bible calls him different things: son of perdition, and Satan, which means the opposer, and what other things? Does he call him? Lucifer is just one of those things, and maybe that was one of his names, but maybe the name that he had in heaven, he lost it. I don't know. I like to think it's that way, because when you lose heaven, you lose a whole bunch of things. When you lose in heaven, we have jobs, and just like on earth, God gives us jobs too, and He requires for us to have, I guess, titles that go with that job, right? Or He gives us titles that go with that job, just like archangels, they're princes, right? Like Michael, he is called a prince in the Bible, so we know that there are jobs, and I think that he lost all of his in heaven. The devil's job is self-made. Obviously, his only capacity is, being a tester for mankind. But I don't think that's even. I don't know if that's a job. Maybe God said, "I'm going to give you one of the best jobs ever. You're going to eat poop the rest of your life." And I think that is something that he does. He eats all the bad stuff that exists on earth. So I'm not really sure why I started talking to you about this, to be completely honest. It's just that every day I'm in a constant battle against evil, and I know how difficult it is to stand here and fight Goliath, or fight the Hittites, or the Jebusites, or the Perizzites. Lately I've been fighting very many things that are evil. And even some people who are Christian, they believe that they know where they're standing, but they don't, like Jehovah's Witnesses and Satanists and atheists and people who believe in witchcraft. It's just wherever it is that you find someone who says they believe in Christ. Even some witches say they believe in Jesus. You know what I mean? But that's not necessarily what they believe is not necessarily the truth. But like I was saying, Satan does have power, and we need to recognize that to be able to defeat him, because the level of power that he possesses is a power that we cannot reach unless God gives it to us. As human beings, we do not come with that kind of power at all. We are not, unless a baby is born with the Spirit of God, like I think Samson was born with the Spirit of God, and John the Baptist was born with the Spirit of God, and Jesus was born with the Spirit of God. You're not going to have the kind of power that Satan has, because the power that Satan has is angelic power, and that is the power to create wonders. And that's why in the book of Revelation, when we take a look at the part where the dragons, beasts are, the two beasts of the apocalypse are introduced, you see that the dragon gave power to the first beast, and the first beast, the Lord rebuked them, gives power to the second beast. And then these powers, they are described as powers of wonder. The first beast, he survives a mortal wound in one of his heads, whatever that may mean. Which means that his power was at once, possibly what this means is that something that gave him power at once was shot down, but it survived that mortal wound. So basically it didn't die. That bad thing, that bad head, that blasphemous head did not die, even though it could have, or it should have. And that was something that God allowed for a purpose. So then, because this mortal wound was healed, that's what the Bible says. I'm sorry, it doesn't say that he didn't die. It says that the mortal wound that he received was healed. So it's not that the man received a shot and he died and came back to life. That's not how it works. It's more what happened. Appears to be that this person had this power, and this power was shot down, but it was healed. So it went away, that power that it had, and then it came back. Somehow someone brought it back, and it came back through Satan, through Satan's beliefs. And not Satan's beliefs, or through satanic means. And when I talk about satanic means, you have to take this into consideration. Satanic is not just a person who, it makes the horn sign and, dresses black and red and wants to have vampire fangs, or, wears goth clothes. No. A person who is satanic can be just a person who opposes God. Okay, so basically an atheist, if he curses God, he's being satanic. And things like having idols in the church, that's satanic. So by satanic means, this wound was healed. And it says in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, that this mortal wound was healed, and that everyone worshipped or followed the beast because that wound was healed. Now, what that wound was, or who gave it, or what that blasphemous head is, and what's the rising, what is representative of the rising of this first beast after it is wounded and mortally wounded, that I don't know, and I will find it very difficult to believe that anybody really has a hang on what it is, because I've learned from different denominations, and I still don't get it, I still don't understand where it is that we are, except for I know right now we're at a time of apostasy. So that means that there are things happening concerning the kingdom of the dragon. The world is in complete disobedience to the Lord. So we are at the time of the dragon. The dragon is reigning in the world. But you know what? When Jesus was here, he said that this world belongs to the devil. And it is because of the amount of sin that he found in the world. But this particular time is a time of heightened knowledge, which I think the prophet Daniel spoke about that, said that during the time of the end, there would be much knowledge in the world. So we are at a time of much knowledge. That knowledge makes people believe that they have wisdom. And, having knowledge and having wisdom is not the same thing, you can have a lot of power and you can know a lot of things. You can be very intelligent, and you can come up with a million ideas, and your IQ can be 180, But if you don't have what's essential in your life, which is God and Christ in your heart, and you don't practice through that love of God and through understanding of His commandments, what He preaches or what He is, then you really nothing that you are matters. Let's just put it that way. That's why And I mean that with the best intention, you know. If you are a Buddhist or an atheist and you're listening to this and you're saying, of course I mean something, you know, you're just a negative Nancy and you just want to put me down because you're a Christian. Christians think that they know everything because they think that their God is all, there's so many gods, and really being intelligent is more it's better, it's more useful, because it means that you can understand everything that exists in the world, and being a Christian only lets you understand only one part of the world, and only it puts you in a box. All these things, you know, I've heard all of these things from atheists and from people who just believe in other religions, and just mainly people who don't want to be obedient, or don't understand the reason for the commandments. That's something that I find a lot. So going back to the whole power thing, you know, the devil has a lot of the reason why we are asked to come to church regularly. And some people say, oh, I don't have to go to church all the time, you know, I can just, you know, praise at home, I can read the Bible at home. And some people say, I don't need to go to be in a church to be a Christian. I believe in Christ, I love Christ, we have a relationship, you know, I can just do this at home on my own, I can go to the library and study the Bible myself. It's like, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine, but you're not going to get the full experience. So the reason why I began this video, and now I remembered, is because I read the Bible from start to finish. I read it about 5 to 6 years ago, in a span of it took me about 2 months, and this occurrence took me to places. It just changed my entire outlook on life. It just changed everything that I knew. Let me just put it this way. When I finished the Bible, like the minute that I finished reading the Bible, I looked down at it and I was like, Lord, everything that I knew was wrong. And I was afraid. I became very, very worried because I had done the wrong thing all my life. And I said, well, no wonder I've been so unhappy. You know, no wonder I'm in this rut all the time. No wonder I don't know how to be in a relationship of any kind. No wonder I don't have any love in my life. No wonder I'm not successful. And I found that reading the Bible gave me the answers that I needed to get up on my feet and say, well, then if I was doing the wrong thing, then now it's the time. Now I have the opportunity to do the right thing, to do things the way that I am supposed to. And the reason that I was able to do that is not, you know, not because of the gospel. Okay, I want that to be really very well understood, because I love Jesus, but even he would tell you, you have to understand where I came from. And, you know, people say, oh, you came from heaven. And Jesus would tell you, no, I'm here for the Torah, man. You know, I am the Torah. And the Torah, for anybody who doesn't know, the Torah is the commandments. And for anybody who over that doesn't know, the commandments are not just 10 or 2 or 4. It's actually 613. That's what was written in Mount Sinai. God gave Moses 613 commandments. And because of those commandments, the Israelites were their sins were saved, you know, were supposed to be saved, or through those commandments. Their sins were saved, and they were able to live a harmonious life with one another and with him and with their environment. So basically, the commandments are a way of life. They're a lifestyle, or they are conducive to a lifestyle that keeps you safe and happy. And there's nothing better than that, right? When you go live in a community, in a closed gate community, you have some rules that you have to follow. You have besides paying your HOA, and you have to have your sprinklers on at a certain time if you have sprinklers. The pool, you can only use it from certain time to a certain time. If you want to use the clubhouse, and you have to reserve it for at a certain time, etc., etc. If you have guests for more than 2 weeks, you have to let somebody know, things like that. And it's the same here on earth, because we are not here on our own. I read this in Rick Warren's A Life with Purpose. I've been reading that book with my dad. It's pretty good. These commandments are basically for us to be able to live in community here on earth. Now, earth really belongs to God. It doesn't belong to us. It was given to us, and we are here on a lease. Okay, so this lease, we basically pay for it with our obedience. Okay. Now, anybody who doesn't do well with the commandments or with the rules of living in this community will be punished. And some people say, "Oh, God is not a punishing God," but He is. And let me explain to you what that means. It doesn't mean that He's punishing, and it doesn't mean that when you come in a little late, He's gonna go like blah, 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 all the time. No, actually, God is more of a, why did you come in late? Don't you know the rules? And sometimes God will come up to you like that. He won't just come up to you and say, "Oh, you missed your curfew," right away. He'll do like he did to he'll do like he did to Adam and Eve. He go like, who told you you were naked? It's like he knows it was Satan. He's been watching. That's why he came by. When they heard him walking around, it was because he already knew everything that had happened, and he was coming in with the big belt. He came with the big fat belt, and he already knew what had happened. So sometimes God just lets you do the answering, and then if you lie on top of it, it's really bad. So the one thing that we need to be, and that we are commanded to, is to be honest with God. So yeah, reading the entire Bible brought me to understand myself a lot better, and that's because it taught me who I was, or what I am really in essence. Is not myself. I am not myself for myself, of myself. I am of God, by God, for God. So everything that I do has to reflect God, and everything that I am has to be in alignment with who God is. And if I'm not doing that, then something's wrong. Yeah, certainly. I mean, we can go to Disney World, and we can, drink a little beer on Sundays, and we can drink beer. Some Christians don't like to drink beer, but the Bible doesn't say, "Oh, you can't have strong drink ever." No, the Bible says it's okay to have some wine, and if you're gonna have strong drink, just don't get drunk. No. God understands that there are things that He doesn't want, and there are things that are okay. He's a good Father. So we can enjoy the things in life, but we have to enjoy them in a manner in which we are not disobedient to the commandments of the community. Now the community of earth, I want to make this very, very well understood. The community of earth does not just span a globe. We are a universal community. We are a community that expands to heaven, towards heaven, because we have connection spiritually with God, then we are part of the kingdom in some way, you know. Even though the kingdom is not, I don't really know how to say this. I don't know if to say the kingdom was not here and now it is, but because when Jesus came in, a lot of things changed. Anyway, I have a lot of questions, so I'm just giving you an overview of how I have experienced things in the kingdom and what's happening to me. And I like to talk about what the Bible did for me, because it was it was what saved me from living in lies, from living in the world. And people say, oh, living in the world, that's such a, old-fashioned way of saying just do whatever God wants. And that takes away your individuality. And all these things, that the devil puts in your head, or that atheists and people like that who don't believe in God think, or Satanists. I've had to deal with a lot of satanic folk, and I see what they're made of, that it's not, that all they are is a mockery. They're a mock. They don't even look like themselves anymore. In the spiritual realms, they look like monsters. And you have to see these things, I tell you. But when you hear a prophet speaking about these things, about what the spiritual world is like, just try to pay attention. Ask God for discernment. Ask if it comes from God, this sight, and listen to them, because you can't see the things that they see. The layman can't see the things that a prophet sees. And anyway, so when I read the Bible, I came to my real self. And I'm not going to lie to you. I have unfortunately sinned after that. I promised God that I wouldn't sin, and I ended up sinning again. And it is to my dismay and one of the worst things that's happened to me, because I was I was on a path of doing so much good and of being so good, or trying to be as righteous as I could be. And loving the Torah, and which I had never done because I didn't know it. And you have to understand that the Bible is one big book that needs to be taken. How to explain this? You need to take the whole story in to understand who you are really, because what we are, all of us, is Hebrews, or what we all are citizens or children of Adam and Eve. And let's just put it that way. And what Adam and Eve were supposed to do is what we were supposed to do, and what we are supposed to do every single day. We are supposed to be obedient to the Lord, period. But Satan tries to lure us away by entertaining us with a million different things every day. And those entertainments can range anywhere from Netflix to a bag of chips, to your wife being pregnant, or things like getting a new car, or just quotidian things. It's quotidian things, how you say it. It's something that you don't even notice sometimes. Just in a fleeting thought, the enemy might try to blow you out of the road or out of the path where you're supposed to be walking. And if you don't know where you have to be walking in the first place, you are going to be even more lost. So the first thing that anybody should ever teach their children is the Bible, so that from their youth, as the Bible says, they can follow the Lord and they can know exactly who they are. The media won't be able to confuse them or draw their attention away, because, well, it's there already, ingrained in their minds, bodies, and souls, in their spirits. They know what to do and where to go, and when the devil comes at them with some distraction, they'll say, whoa, wait, I don't understand what you just said, so I'm going to go back to my father's house and I'm going to talk to him about what you just told me, which is what Adam and Eve didn't do. Adam and Eve, when the devil told them, you're not really gonna die if you eat from, Lord rebuke it, if you eat from that tree, you're just gonna know things like God, and He doesn't want you to. And what Eve should have done was like, look at the snake, like, I don't believe you, and I think I'm gonna go back to God, and I'm gonna ask Him, because He was the one who told me. So I think that what makes the best sense is that I ask, I hear from the Lord first, and then she would just like step away. The snake would have, obviously he would have been the one who'd go and hide, because he would have been afraid God was gonna kill him, probably. Or maybe he would have just lost his legs anyway, and maybe the story would have been a lot different, or obviously would have been way different. But if Eve would have done that, then we wouldn't have lost heaven. So it's our responsibility to, and this is, man, I'm not just talking here. Yes, I'm talking, but I'm not just talking. I'm teaching you the most important lesson you'll ever learn. And it is that we don't belong to ourselves, and this world doesn't belong to us. And we are made for a purpose that most people don't know, so they don't understand it, so they don't practice it. And so they are not just unhappy, but lost. And then at the end of their lives, they die, they go to hell, and then they didn't know why it happened. God obviously will tell them, but He's also a gracious God. He's not just going to let you go to hell. He's if He knows that you are not understood in some things, and He wants to save you, He will go for it. That's why that's what Bible says, that He leaves the 99 to go get the one that got lost out of 100. So if there are 100 sheep and one got lost, He's going to leave the 99 behind to get the one that got lost. And it's because God is a loving God. He also, it's also about the exaltation of God Himself, obviously, because the humanity comes from the power of His own creation, and God doesn't waste anything. In creation, nothing gets wasted. He doesn't waste His power. So if He made one sheep, and the sheep turned into a goat somewhere along the way, or the sheep started bleeding like a goat all of a sudden, because He said, oh, I like his horns better, God is gonna go after that sheep and say, no, I made you with this white fleece a certain way, because because it is more like me. It's more like me. Look at my hair. It's like white as fleece. So God is good like that. And what I want you to understand is that telling you to read the Bible is not a boring thing. It's not a task that should be grueling to you. But more importantly, it's more like going to school for the first time. This is your most important schooling. Okay, so that's why it should happen before anything else. That's why, since you are in your mother's womb, your mom should be reading you the Bible. Even if it seems like you can't hear it, there are angels who are listening. So the angels, they help with the knitting inside the womb, and they take care of the baby that's inside the womb. So most definitely, some of these things are going to not go unnoticed for a baby. So you start at the womb, You start at the womb, and then after you keep on reading the Bible to baby every day. Just read the Bible every day to the baby, every day, and go in order. Just go in order. Maybe. You don't have to do it in order, but anyway. And then when the baby has enough, enough to grab a Bible, you buy them a baby Bible, even if they can't read it, and you keep on reading it all through their lives. And once they have enough understanding, just start teaching them the commandments, and we do things this way, and you follow the commandments so that they can see you following the commandments, and they can do what you do, and that's also the most important thing. But reading the Bible should be something that every person does. So that's basically your lesson for today. I wanted to bring you something good to eat so that you did not go famished throughout the day. I get a lot of bad rap, but I know more than I used to. And the reason I get a lot of bad rap is because people don't understand that I'm not how I used to be anymore, because I read the Bible. And I used to be a person that people called fun, funny, and I don't know, good friend, intelligent, good at my job, generous. I don't know, a whole bunch of other things. And but then if I look at the life that I led, I wasn't really anything good. I smoked, I drank, I cursed like a sailor. I fornicated. I was a bad person. I was a daughter of Satan, and I didn't know it. And people say, "Oh, don't call yourself that," or you can't be a daughter of Satan. You belong to God. And everybody wants to be like really, really nice and say, "Don't call yourself that," because obviously Satan is evil and the devil, and nobody wants to be called a child of Satan. But hey, do you want to know what? 2 things I learned from the Bible. The Bible itself, God calls the Israelites children of Satan at some point, and sons of the dragon, or sons of the mother of harlots, Jesus at some point even calls his own best friend Peter Satan. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't say, "No, Peter, don't say that to me." No, and he could have definitely. Jesus, when he said, "I am going to die, they're going to come and kill me, and I'm going to be risen in 3 days." And Peter did not hear the "I'm going to be risen in 3 days" part. He went he went for the "they're going to kill me" part. Somebody's going to come and kill me part. And he came up and he raised his knife and he said, "I will not let that happen. No, Lord, I won't let that happen. That will not happen." And Jesus could have said, "Peter, this is my job. I have to do it because, the Father wants me to become a sacrifice for it." He could have just sat down and explained that. He could have just said, "No, Peter, don't say that to me because you're going to make me feel afraid." No, he didn't say that. He said, "Get behind me, Satan." That's what he said. So don't worry about me saying I was a daughter of Satan, because I was. I just didn't know it. I was doing the things that he did, and I was being disobedient, and I was enjoying pleasures that I shouldn't have. And I gave that life up when I read the Bible. I started wanting to leave that life behind before then. I just didn't have the tools to do it, because psycho-emotionally and just educationally, I was not understood about what I had to do. Okay? So some people say, "Oh, but it's common sense." that if you lie, it's a bad thing. Well, lying, maybe, cheating, maybe, but there are other things that are not so much common sense to everyone, like fornicating. I thought, because I had watched a lot of television, and I was into romance novels and Disney. I thought that it was okay if I loved my boyfriend enough to have sex with him, and I thought that meant that we were going to get married, and I thought that God would be okay because we love one another. But that's not the truth. I can think whatever I want about that, and it's not real. If I would put it this way: if, for example, you understand that, that marriage is between you, your spouse, a witness, and God, you can grab one witness and you can stand in front of God, just clearing somewhere pretty, with the person that you love, and this witness, and you say, Lord, please marry us. We would like to be together. We have a witness here standing before us that our love is true and real, and that we want to do it before your eyes, and that we want you to bless us. God will bless that union, and that I believe that. And I believe that if there is a time when someone says that people can't be married, and there is no priest to marry someone, I think that God would do that. I think that God might bless that union. But there obviously that's something to ask God about, because I take it, and you see, I tell you, I know that I'm just giving you my opinion because I'm not a pastor. I'm a layman, and I give my opinion on things that I've lived through. And obviously, I'm taking this information from, watching what Joshua did in Shechem, and he said these words, and these words were like a new covenant. He renewed the covenant in Canaan for the Israelites, and the covenant was renewed through this stone that he put in front of everybody, and he said this stone will serve as a witness for us that we are renewing the covenant. And it didn't mean that the stone was God, it was just something that was done back then. So I take it from there that God might do that. But also Joshua was a prophet, and he had certain power that God gave him, the power of he was given power to do certain things at some point, and that he was the leader of the Israelites. So I don't know if having that position gave him the power to make that sort of thing happen, using a stone as a witness. And maybe you still need a priest. I don't know. But you might want to ask God about it. Because you don't want to go trying to do that with your girlfriend just because you guys want to have sex, because you don't want to do it, away from the law of God. It's better probably to ask God, can this be done just me, my girlfriend, and a witness, or do I still need a priest? And if you, just wait for an answer. Don't do anything rash just because I have an opinion. There are a lot of things that we can learn from reading the Bible. And there are also a lot of interpretations that can come from reading the Bible. And that comes from us being intelligent, but not just intelligence. It's sin. Sin can lead us to have different understandings about the Bible that are not always correct. So we have to be careful about what kind of ideas we come up with. That's why I was very, very clear right now that that's what I think, and maybe I wouldn't do it still without asking God, is this okay? Can I marry without a priest? Is it legal for you if I do that? I certainly didn't do it that way when before. And I certainly wouldn't do it without asking God first. And obviously I would rather have my, at least some of my family at my wedding. It's it's a little later today in the day, and I just wanted to stop and talk about the Bible a little bit, because I think that everybody should know how important reading the Bible is. I have a lot more thoughts. I have a lot more to say. I have a lot more that I would like to share with you in terms of why the Bible is important, how we can defeat Satan every day, and we have to defeat him every day. And maybe some days God gives us more peace than others, but the devil goes at us, like a ravenous lion. He's always trying to put some stupid thought in our head, So we have to always be in a state of mind where we are with God. And if we are in that state of mind, we have peace. And that means that the devil can't really mess with us all the time. So when I say that he will go after us, it doesn't mean you're going to be bothered by him all the time, or you're not going to have peace, or, he's going to try to ruin your day every day, or, you're not going to have blessings. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that he will try if you let him. But if you keep yourself in the Torah and you keep yourself in a good place with God, he's going to try to protect you as much as possible. And when I say as much as possible, please understand that it's not that God doesn't want to be there all the time. It's that he can't, because we messed up. We gave up perfection. We gave up the garden. In the garden, we were way more protected. And, even then, look what happened, maybe, and I've said this before in other videos and other platforms, that maybe God allowed us to be tested by Satan to know whether his creation was really as good as he thought it was. Because, well, when you make something, you have to test it to make sure that it works properly, And maybe that's just something that God does with everyone. That doesn't mean that he's a bad father. It means that he needs to make sure that everything works the way that he wants to, because he's perfect, And he requires perfection. Some people say, "Oh, that's unfair because he's perfect and we're not." And I would say, you know what? I don't have an answer for you, and that's okay, because he's still God and you're not. So, if that seems unfair to you, that's probably because you are not as obedient as you think you are, and you would not want to be. You would rather do your own way, And that's something that God understands as the opposition, or the oppositional part in you. And if even angels had oppositional, then humans were bound to have more opposition. But we need to strive to the best of our ability to not be oppositional to what God is and who God is. Not just his commandments that we know here on earth, because God told me that there are as many commandments as he has people, as his people. So he said to me, my commandments are as numerous as my people. And that probably means trillions of commandments have been made, one for each person, one for each trouble, possible trouble. So what I'm trying to say here is, he does not want us to fail. He wants us to be as perfect as we can be. And we are definitely capable of being as perfect as we can be. And, it doesn't take being a Buddhist and meditating. It doesn't take, it doesn't take pills to get into that, sane state of mind that you need to be in to worship God. It only needs, the only two things that you need is to learn the truth No, 3 ways. I'm going to say two, I'm going to say 3 things. I'm going to close with this because it's very good. So you need to learn the truth, walk the way, and have that life. You know, you have to know the truth, which means learning the Bible, getting to know who God is, being accepting that the way that you are meant to be, and accepting the way that you are as a creation of God. Ooh, the devil hates me. I just said that, and I got like this smack on the face that tried to convince me of the opposite thing. It was really weird. It was almost like I had a stroke. It was that hard. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and then you need to live the lifestyle. So those 3 things are what you need, and we have everything in Jesus, Yeshua, who will help us to get that perfection state, that state of perfection that we need to live in, and through no other way can we do it. So if you are convinced by the words that I'm saying, I encourage you to partake in a little thing that we call Shabbat this Saturday at any Messianic synagogue anywhere around the world that you can. And I'm inviting you to the Messianic Church because it is the highest truth that I have known. But I have also, been able to jive in Baptist church and, Pentecostal I really like. Non-denominational churches, some of them. The Spirit of God is where there are people who really believe in Him. And let me just say this to you, which is one of the craziest things I've ever learned. Like, wow. Not crazy, but the word is not crazy. The word is one of the most awesomest things one of the awesomest things I've ever learned is that the Spirit of God lives even in the synagogues where they don't believe in Him, in Jesus, not in Him, but in Jesus. Like, for example, the Chabad. I went into Chabad one day, and I could feel the presence of God there. But they don't believe in Jesus because they're Orthodox Jews. They don't believe that the Messiah arrived. They're still waiting for Him. Some Jews aren't even waiting for the Messiah anymore. But I felt the presence of God when I stepped in, and the reason is that His people live there. they worship there. They worship the Torah. They worship in the Torah. So these are people who He wants to save. So His presence has to be somehow there. But are they saved? Not yet. So I don't. I that's why I tell you, go to a Messianic synagogue and not just any synagogue, because you won't be able to get Jesus at any synagogue. But most definitely, there are other churches that do carry the Holy Spirit. It's not all of them. And I've been to, for example, Adventist church where I don't feel the Spirit of God. I feel the spirit of death. Like I feel like I just entered a funeral. Even though, the people were very faithful it's happened twice, two or three times that I've been sort of called not to go back to that church. I've also been told not to go back to certain people, even if they were Christians that I knew, who used to be very devout to God and to Jesus. I've been called to step away from them, to not hang out with them anymore because of things. And I've come to certain understandings that also draw me away from seeing people as being in the capacities that they have been set at church. Like, for example, a person who has a ministry but or who's a leader of a ministry but lies or curses, and it's not a thing that you can do as a ministry leader. You have to be a person who is very set with your values and your mores, and with the commandments, obviously. I'm not saying it's not something fixable. I'm saying that if you're a habitual person, a person who, for example, smokes and they're a Levite, or curses and they're a Levite, they're in sin, and they cannot be in that position or in that capacity. Whether they're in leadership or not, they're not supposed to be there. And that's something that the Bible says. The Bible says that anybody who's in sin cannot have ministry. So maybe they can be forgiven certain things, but they certainly need to step down from the position until they can remove the sin from themselves. Being forgiven might happen in a second, but it could happen a long time. It might require for someone to wait some time until they come back to the position. It might require many things, or maybe even God says, well, I don't want you here anymore. There are many different things. Many different things. God showed me once that he can take things from you in a split second. He showed me in a very particular way. Anyway, I'm a cautionary tale. A lot of us are, and I said I didn't want to be that anymore, and I told the Lord I didn't want to sin anymore, and then I still sinned again, and I'm in a place where I want to get back on His good grace, try to do the best that I can, and if it is possible, in the end, go home. We have to always be very attentive of that fact that. Well, I had a pastor, she's not really a pastor, she's a teacher. But I had this teacher who, like a rabbi, Rabitzan, she said, more, that's what teacher means. And she said that we are really dead, hoping to become alive through Christ. I don't believe in it that way. I like to think that there are people who are saved already. They just have to keep their salvation. But the Apostle Paul, at some point in the Gospel, he says, I don't know. I'm hoping for these things that that I don't even know if I'm gonna get them. And I think it was because he knew that he had done really terrible things. I mean, he used to kill Christians. He was blasphemous of Jesus. And even though Jesus gave him a chance to preach the word, or he became a preacher of the word, really, he gave him back his sight. Paul was understood that at any moment he could lose what he had by grace, because it is by grace. So my message here is more so that you can understand how fragile life is for us, really. It's not, I can step out of my house and a car can kill me. It's your soul is actively seeking salvation every single second, because we were made saved. We didn't have anything to not be saved from, because we were safe in heaven, in the Garden of Eden. And then we became fallen. So now we are at danger of dying every single second by the hand of Satan, who is after us all the time. or who wants to go after us all the time. So our job is really to love God with all our hearts and just be in obedience, and through that obedience and through that love, save our souls. And it's not something that we can do for ourselves, or that we couldn't do it for ourselves. We have now the Lamb, which is Jesus, who helped us to attain salvation once and for all. Now things have changed. Now what was before is no longer. Now we are in a new covenant, and through that covenant, believing in Jesus, things are easier for us. Okay, and I want you to understand how easy they are. That you don't have to go and buy, a flock of lambs or raise a flock of lambs to have to have to give during the Holocaust. It's you don't have to go and get some pigeon to bring it to the altar and get it killed so that God can forgive you, and hope for that forgiveness. No, the Lamb was already given, and he was perfect, unblemished, and not just that, he was like you and me. He was God on earth. He was the love of our lives, given to us as the prince that as the prince that goes to rescue the princess, like in I don't know if anybody's watched Transformation Church has this awesome theater play for I forgot what it's called now. Redeemed? No, it's not called Redeemed. Rapture? No, it's not called Rapture. Anyway, it's their Passover. They call it Easter, obviously, but their Passover play, and it's what's it called? I forgot. Anyway, it's wonderful, and that's the story is that there's a prince that comes to rescue a princess that's taken by the dragon. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a tale of salvation, and just a little bit divergent from the biblical story, but very similar. It's beautiful. You should go watch it, and it's on YouTube. And so yeah, we're here. We're here for that part of the story right now. We're here for that part of the story, and every day we can experience that. Being the princess rescued by the prince who goes after us. And if you're a boy, don't worry about calling it that way. There are always other ways of seeing it that are more masculine, or just Jesus rescuing you, being your father who loves you. All right, guys. So that's all I have. I hope that you have that watching all of the things that Wawa has to offer on a loop is not driving you insane. I don't know if it would drive me insane because I haven't watched the video, but you don't have to watch this video at all. You just have to listen to what I'm saying. In fact, I am going to tell you at the beginning of this video, I'm going to try to make like a little note that says, don't watch the video, just listen. Because it's just, I didn't want you to see me. I wanted you to see that, I wanted you to hear me. So I hope that all of these words resonate with you, and I hope that they cling to your heart like the commandments want to cling to me. And I hope that it leads you to wanting to understand how a person can be changed just by reading a religious book like the Bible, and what is in it that could freely bring alive a person. And I'm not talking metaphorically. I was really dead in the spirit, and God brought me to life. Now my job is to stay alive. So here is this video. Share it if you want to, and shalom, shalom. Be blessed.